So what is your accidentally caught your spouse cheating horror story? Story 1. I was dating a girl a few years back and ended up getting close to her brother. Helped him out during a really rough time after their dad passed away. 2 years into the relationship, her brother asked me to meet him for coffee and said he needed to talk. He had walked in on his sister, my girlfriend, with another guy, someone we both knew. Apparently, it had been going on for about a year. I broke up with her right away. Somehow, I'm still good friends with her brother. Edit. If I were into dudes, I'd probably date him. He's awesome. Story 2. I met a medical resident during a hospital rotation. One of the smartest, kindest people I've ever come across. He was training to be a trauma surgeon and had been married for a couple years. One night, he got off a 30-hour shift early and went home with flowers and dessert to surprise his wife on the anniversary of the day they met. He walked in and found her in bed with another man. He was so exhausted and stunned that he just left and drove back to the hospital. I found him sitting in his car at 5 a.m., hunched over, crying. He didn't even have his phone. We called his dad to come get him. Turns out this wasn't the first time she cheated. He ended up taking a leave from the program. He's going to be an incredible doctor someday. I really hope he makes it through. Story 3. I walked in on my girlfriend having fun time with another guy. She looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" I reminded her I had a key and wanted to surprise her since I wasn't working that day. 15 years later, she left me a voicemail saying she wanted to talk. I assumed it was to apologize, maybe part of a 12-step thing. Nope. She wanted to pitch me on Amway. Story 4. One night, she told me not to come over because she wasn't feeling well. My sister needed her hoodie back, so I figured I'd stop by and bring some chocolate and a Slurpee while I was at it. I knocked on her door, and she came to the upstairs window wrapped in a blanket. I said, "My sister needs her hoodie." From inside, a guy's voice asked, "Who's that?" I just said, "Got it," and turned to walk away. She said, "I'll talk to you tomorrow." I told her, "Probably not." She threw the hoodie out the window. Cold walk home. Story 5. A couple weeks ago, I messaged a mutual friend to borrow a router. He didn't respond, but no big deal, he lives nearby, so I stopped by. As I pulled up his long driveway, I noticed my wife's car already parked there. My heart sank, but I tried to stay calm. They were friends and business partners, after all. I went inside and headed upstairs, where he was, suddenly alone and fully dressed. I asked for the router and casually mentioned my wife's car was outside. He mumbled something about how she had been around earlier. I took the router and walked back to my van, only to find my wife topless trying to sneak around the side of the house. Yes, I kept the router. Edit. It's a plunge router for woodworking. Story 6. I had been visiting friends in London for a week and flew back home to Canada. I was supposed to meet up with another group of friends when I got back, but plans fell through, so I drove the 4 hours home. She wasn't expecting me until 6 p.m., but I got home at 6 a.m. after staying awake for 30 hours straight. I just wanted to collapse into bed. When I opened the door, there were extra feet sticking out from under the covers. Story 7. Same thing happened to me, except I'm a woman. I was totally blindsided. Even though I knew it wasn't my fault, it completely messed me up. It's been years, but we had been together a long time, and it takes a lot to invest in someone again when their true self might not show up until 6 years in. While I hate what he did, I think what hurt more was how much it changed me. I stopped believing in people the way I used to. I missed the person I was before it happened. Story 8. I got home one night and my husband wasn't there, which was weird. He told me an hour earlier that he was on his way home. I had a feeling something was off, so I went to the apartment of a female friend he always said was like a sister. His truck was there. I knocked, no answer. The door was unlocked, so I let myself in. The living room was empty, but I heard sounds coming from the bedroom. I walked in and found them together. We tried to work through it for a few months, but I couldn't get past it. Couldn't even stand to be touched. We divorced 4 years ago. Edit. Yes, this was a mutual friend we had both known for years. Story 9. My best friend has 2 little girls. Her partner was cheating on her with a woman who also has a kid. This woman was posting pictures on social media of all 3 kids together. acting like it was some happy little blended family. Meanwhile, my friend was working 2 jobs to support her girls while the guy sat around smoking and making gross comments. She found out on Valentine's Day. He used her credit card to buy the other woman expensive flowers and didn't get her anything. She snooped and found the Instagram posts, then just broke down and cried for days. I'm not usually violent, but I wanted to punch that man in the face. Thankfully, they broke up. She's dating someone better now, but it breaks my heart her kids still have to spend time with that guy. Story 10. I got a new job with a cell phone company, which came with a free phone for me and a super cheap line for my girlfriend. First bill came in with call logs. She was talking to one number almost every day during work hours. Called it and a guy answered. Hung up, asked her about it and she lied, said it was a female friend. I called again. Same guy answered. Expletive you, Brooke. Might as well, apparently everyone else did. Story 11. My friend's baby mama was living with him. They had 2 young kids. He worked less than a mile from home. One day, a mutual friend was buying weed from a dealer who lived 2 doors down and saw some guy pull up to my friend's house. The guy walked in, and the baby mama greeted him with a hug. Definitely not family. Our friend banged on the door and confronted her. She didn't even care. Said, "So what, you gonna snitch on me?" He said, "Yeah." Then he walked straight to my buddy's job and told him everything. Story 12. Her phone buzzed on the counter with a text while her friend was in the kitchen. I thought one of them had messaged me. I opened it, boom, full-on D-pic. Her friend doesn't have man's parts. Now I'm divorced and suspicious of any texts from friends. Story 13. She mentioned Pokemon Go was using a lot of her data. I told her you could check in the settings to see which apps were eating up data. I showed her. Turns out it wasn't Pokemon Go. It was Tinder. Sad way to find out, but honestly kind of hilarious. Story 14. I posted this before, but it still blows my mind. She asked me to take her phone with me on a walk to hatch one of her Pokemon eggs. While walking, I got a Skype message. "Hey, I'm home. You free to send that pic?" That felt off, so I checked. There was a full log of dirty messages going back 3 weeks. I walked to the store, bought my stuff, came home, packed my bag. I was visiting from out of state. One of my best friends drove an hour to pick me up. As he pulled up, I sat her down and told her I knew. Then I left. She called me nonstop. I muted her. I called her a few days later from the airport just to say she could sell whatever I left. Hung up before she could say anything. Story 15. She accidentally ran over her phone and shattered the screen. Asked me to back up her stuff before transferring it to her new phone. During the backup, I saw all the texts and nudes she had sent another guy. I didn't say much, just didn't transfer anything to the new phone. We had a long conversation when she got back from her weekend trip. Story 16. I knew a girl who constantly cheated. Her husband didn't know her WhatsApp was synced to their shared laptop. One night she was texting her side guy from bed, and the messages popped up on the laptop next to him. He took screenshots, posted them all on Facebook, tagged her sister, the whole 9 yards. Also, once she had a hickey from a hookup and tried to cover it up by burning her neck with a hair iron. How do I know? She called my wife at 3:30 a.m. asking to borrow her flat iron. Edit. They're still together. She was a model and TV host. He's rich and older. Arranged marriage, apparently. Story 17. We were engaged. He had a drinking problem. One night, he got blackout drunk and accidentally called me. I answered and heard everything. He was with a prostitute. At the time, I would have been more hurt if it had been someone he knew. Now, I'm more disgusted that I was with someone so repulsive he had to pay for it. Story 18. A buddy of mine walked in on his wife cheating. He grabbed a bat and beat the guy up. The walls were covered in wedding photos, so there was no way the other dude didn't know she was married. My buddy said the guy put his hands up to block him, ended up with 2 broken wrists. My friend called the police himself, got arrested without a fight, made himself a grilled cheese while waiting. He spent about a year in jail. After that, he tried joining the army as a medic, but they only let him in as infantry because of his record. That's how we met. No clue what happened to his ex or their kid. Story 19. My girlfriend lived in another town. She'd been acting distant for weeks and kept avoiding plans to visit. I went to a party hosted by a friend. While there, someone mentioned he was dating a new girl. I asked who it was. He introduced me to my girlfriend. Turns out she had told everyone we broke up and had been dating my friend for a month. Edit. Yeah, the party host was the same guy she was cheating with. I wasn't close to him, we barely spoke. Another friend invited me. Story 20. My ex-fiancée told her coworkers I was a stalker. Meanwhile, we were still living together. She'd ask me to take her out to lunch in front of them, then lie and say I wouldn't leave her alone. I remembered how she said her ex had stalked her too when we first started dating. That's when it clicked. She was lying then too. The guy she said was stalking her? He warned me once. She'll do this to you. I thought he was just bitter. Turns out he was the only one who told me the truth. Story 20. My ex-fiancée told her coworkers I was a stalker. Meanwhile, we were still living together. She'd ask me to take her out to lunch in front of them, then lie and say I wouldn't leave her alone. I remembered how she said her ex had stalked her too when we first started dating. That's when it clicked. She was lying then too. The guy she said was stalking her? He warned me once. She'll do this to you. I thought he was just bitter. Turns out he was the only one who told me the truth. Story 21. At work, my coworker plugged in an SD card for a presentation. Before he could open the files, the projector started auto-displaying all the pictures on the card. First thing we saw? His wife naked with another guy. Whole boardroom just froze. I shut the projector off. He stood up without a word, walked out and drove off. Left his laptop and phone right there. He went to stay with his parents 3 states away. Edit. Yes, the company let him keep his job. He had time off saved. Story 22. He put in the SD card to look for a scan file and some slides. The projector auto-loaded a bunch of photos from the card. About 8 of them popped up on the big screen. His wife, another man. Someone said his name kind of awkwardly. He looked up, saw it, and just froze. I reached over and shut the thing off. He didn't say a word, just walked out. Threw up next to his car, then got in and drove away calmly. It was surreal. Story 23. Not my story, but my dad's. Years ago, my mom's side of the family was visiting. My dad couldn't go out with them because he worked the night shift, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. He got off early and headed home. On the way, he ran into our babysitter. She said, "Oh, your wife called and told me she was staying home sick." Dad knew something was up. He got in through the basement door, came upstairs and heard them. My mom and her cousin. He almost left her right then, with me in tow, but stayed for my sake. Honestly, I kind of wish he hadn't. Story 24. Yes, it was her first cousin. They were around the same age. I found out years later when I defended my mom during a family argument. My dad stayed in the car after we got home. I went out to check on him, and he just said, "You don't know everything." Then he told me the truth. Turns out their affair started before my parents met. He caught them again on the honeymoon. Woke up, she wasn't in bed, heard noises, saw it all. He went to a priest who told him to forgive her. They stayed married. I think he stayed because he didn't want to leave my mom's struggling family. Story 25. When I was younger, I resented my dad for being distant. He worked like crazy, avoided being home. But after that conversation, everything made sense. He gave up so much to protect me and be a good man. Even though he was crushed, now we're closer. He's sick these days and spends a lot of time in the hospital. Last time I visited, my mom and I entered the room at the same time. She leaned in to kiss him, but his arms opened toward me. He only looked at me. It broke my heart. Story 26. She asked me to help move her car one afternoon. It was parked weird after some snow, she said. I grabbed the keys and hopped in, thinking nothing of it. As I was adjusting the seat, I noticed a folded piece of paper sitting on the passenger side floor. It was a receipt from a hotel. Room for 2, one night, booked on a weekend I had been away visiting family. The timestamp matched perfectly. I sat there staring at it, not sure if I should laugh or scream. When I went back inside and handed her the keys, she acted normal. Didn't say a word, didn't notice anything was off. I didn't confront her that day. I just needed time to figure out how someone could lie so easily, with such a straight face. Story 27. I was going through our shared Google account looking for an old vacation photo she'd taken. She'd uploaded everything there automatically, so I figured it'd be the easiest place to look. Instead, I stumbled into a folder I'd never seen before. One that wasn't titled anything obvious. Just a string of numbers and letters. I opened it thinking it was maybe an app backup. Nope. It was a full album of selfies, hotel mirror photos, and flirty messages saved as screenshots. All of them clearly meant for someone else. There were pictures of hotel beds, flowers, and little notes she'd left for him. My hands were shaking, but I kept scrolling. I think I just wanted to know how deep it went. When I finally closed the tab, I didn't even know what to say. She was out at the store. I sat there in complete silence for almost an hour. I didn't confront her that day. I just shut down. Story 28. Our dog always barked when my boyfriend left, but lately, he had started acting even more agitated. Every time my boyfriend grabbed his keys or put on his coat, the dog would whine and try to block the door. I didn't think much of it until one Saturday. Something just felt off. My boyfriend said he was heading to the gym, and I waited 5 minutes before I put the dog on a leash and followed. We walked a couple blocks. Then he turned down a side street and went into a building I didn't recognize. The dog started pulling hard on the leash, tail down, growling low. I followed him around the corner and saw my boyfriend's car parked outside this townhouse I'd never seen before. About 10 minutes later, he came out onto the porch with another woman. They kissed. He didn't see me. I just stood there, staring. My dog looked up at me like, "Told you so." Story 29. He told me he had to work late. Said he'd be at the hospital for an overnight shift. He's a nurse, so it wasn't out of the ordinary. A couple hours later, he texted me a selfie in scrubs. Said, "Exhausted already." I almost replied with a hang in there, but something about the photo gave me pause. There was a glass door behind him with a logo on it. It was backward in the image, but I screenshotted it and flipped it. It was the name of a hotel, not a hospital. I remember sitting there staring at it for a few seconds, like my brain didn't want to believe what I was seeing. I didn't even respond to the text. Just put my phone down, sat in the dark, and realized the person I trusted most had been lying. Right to my face. Story 30. He booked a romantic weekend trip, 5-star hotel, wine tasting, the works. He used my credit card to do it. I only found out because I got a fraud alert for a booking I didn't recognize. When I checked the reservation, I saw both their names on it. He didn't even bother to hide it. He'd planned the whole getaway for him and the other woman while I was supposed to be at a work retreat. So I canceled the reservation. Then I rebooked the exact same flight and seats, but under my name. Showed up at the airport with my boarding pass in hand. When I boarded the plane, I sat down next to them, aisle seat. He turned pale. She looked confused. I smiled, put on my headphones, and didn't say a single word. Best flight I've ever taken. Story 31. We had a shared Amazon account, and I got a shipping notification one afternoon while she was supposedly out visiting her mom. I saw she ordered a very specific cologne set, the exact kind I don't wear. Thought it was a gift, maybe a surprise. 2 days later, I saw the same cologne in her car's glove box. That night, I saw a text pop up on her Apple Watch from someone named Jay. "Thanks for the scent." It worked. I didn't say a word. I just placed the box on the kitchen table with a post-it note that read, "Hope he smells as good as you lie." Story 32. She loved posting on her Instagram story. Always cute coffee shop pics, book quotes, aesthetic windows. One day, I noticed something weird. The background in her Sunday morning coffee was not our apartment. I zoomed in on the reflection in the French press, 2 hands. Neither were hers. Different skin tone, and one had a ring. Not mine. I messaged her and asked how her coffee was. She said, "Just woke up, making it now." I sent the screenshot. She blocked me. I laughed, poured a whiskey at 10 a.m., and changed all the locks. Story 33. I got a stomach bug and came home early from work. She didn't hear me come in. I was moving slow, trying not to barf. I went upstairs and found her in the guest room, wrapped up under a blanket, and someone else under it too. I stood there for a solid 10 seconds, silent. She screamed when she saw me. The guy ran into the closet like that would somehow help. I just turned around and left. Ended up sitting in my car in the driveway for half an hour, wondering if I should throw up from the flu or betrayal first. I did both. Story 34. He'd been weirdly into laundry lately, kept insisting on doing ours, which was new. One night, I spilled wine on the bed and pulled the sheets off, and out fell a pair of lacy underwear that was definitely not mine. Wrong size, wrong style, wrong color. When I asked him, he froze, then said they must have gotten mixed up at the laundromat. We have in-unit laundry. I didn't even argue, just calmly packed a bag, left, and sent him a picture of his folded laundry in a trash bag on the curb. Story 35. We were out having dinner with friends when his phone buzzed on the table. The name just said pizza with a heart emoji. Everyone laughed. He awkwardly brushed it off. Later, I went to the bathroom and grabbed his phone while it was charging. Pizza was not Domino's. It was a woman. Their texts were flirty, raw, and detailed. They'd even gone to the same restaurant 2 nights earlier. I deleted her contact name and changed it to Mistake Skull. I left the phone open on the conversation and placed it on his chest while he was sleeping. Story 36. He always had an early morning routine: coffee, gym, shower, commute. One day I noticed his running shoes were clean, like spotless. Checked his workout app, hadn't logged a workout in weeks. So I followed him. Instead of the gym, he went to a woman's house a few blocks down. I watched from the car as she opened the door in pajamas and kissed him. He didn't even look back. I drove to the gym, checked in using his account, and left a note at the front desk that said, "He won't be back. He found another way to sweat." Story 37. He told me he was going to Vegas for a guy's weekend. Sent a few blurry selfies from a casino and one from a pool. The background looked off, so I reverse image searched the pool. It was a resort in Mexico. I waited till he got back, casually asked how Vegas was. He said it was wild. I showed him the resort photo with the GPS metadata. He blinked, said nothing. I just said, "Glad you had fun. Hope she was worth it." He's still in denial. I'm now dating a guy who actually wants to go places with me. Story 38. She told me she was too tired to hang out and wanted a quiet night in. I ordered food for myself and was scrolling TikTok when I saw her on someone else's story, dancing at a bar, arms around a guy. It wasn't even subtle. I texted her, "Have fun tonight." She replied, "Already in bed." I sent the video. 3 dots showed up. Then nothing. We never spoke again. She blocked me, deleted her socials, didn't even try to explain. Coldest part? She still had my hoodie. Story 39. She had a second phone. I didn't know for months. I only found out when she forgot it in my car. It was pink and cracked and had no lock. Curious, I opened it. First thing I saw was a text. "Let me know when he's gone." Scrolled through the messages and realized she'd been living a whole other life. Different names, lies stacked on lies. I didn't say anything. I took the phone home, took screenshots of everything, printed them out, and left them on the kitchen counter with a post-it note. "Found your real phone. I'll find someone real too." Story 40. We were planning our wedding. Guest lists, cake tastings, the whole thing. Then I got a call from a stranger. He said, "Hey, I think your fiancé is seeing my boyfriend." I thought it was a prank. He sent me screenshots, pictures, voice memos. My chest went hollow. She'd been sleeping with this guy's partner for 6 months. Started around the time we got engaged. I canceled the wedding and sent out an email to all 90 invited guests explaining why. Her mom called me crying. I wasn't. Not anymore. Story 41. I let her use my old laptop when hers died. A few weeks later, I opened the browser to check something, and it autofilled a site I didn't recognize. Clicked it. Turns out it was a private chat forum, and she had her own thread. explicit photos, journal entries about sneaking around behind my back, and conversations with multiple guys. I stared at the screen for probably 10 minutes before closing it. Didn't say a word. Just factory reset the laptop. Left it open with a note that said, "I hope they were worth it. The Wi-Fi password has also changed." Story 42. I used to send her flowers at work just because. One day I went to drop them off myself since I was nearby. The receptionist gave me a weird look and said, "Oh, she already left. Said she was meeting you for lunch?" I hadn't made any plans. Waited outside. She didn't come back. The next day, I drove back around the same time and saw her getting into a car with a guy. Kissed him right on the mouth before they drove off. I kept the bouquet. Took it home. Gave it to my neighbor. She was thrilled. Story 43. Our kid accidentally outed her. We were doing bedtime stories, and she said, "Mommy's friend David reads better than you." I said, "Who's David?" She said, "The one who stays over when you work nights." I didn't react. I tucked her in, said goodnight, and left the room. That night, I waited for my wife to get home. Handed her divorce papers I'd already been sitting on for weeks. Had a feeling, just hadn't proof. Turns out the truth came from the most innocent person in the house. Kids see everything. They really do. Story 44. We were doing long distance for about 6 months while I worked abroad. One night, she forgot the time difference and called me by accident. I picked up and heard laughing, music, and a guy say, "Is that your boyfriend?" Hang up. She didn't say a word, just clicked off. 10 minutes later, she texted me, "Sorry, wrong number." I never responded. I packed my stuff and took an earlier flight home. Didn't even tell her. Just blocked her from 30,000 feet in the air. Never looked back. Story 45. We shared a smart home speaker. One night, I was in bed and said, "Alexa, play our playlist." Instead, it said, "Now playing Sean and Mia's Vibes." That wasn't me. I opened the history on the app. Turns out she'd been playing it while I was at work. Song titles were romantic. One was called Secret Love. I asked her who Sean was. She said, "Just a friend." I said, "We're both going to need new playlists." Packed her stuff while she stood there stunned. Story 46. She was always a little protective of her phone, but I respected her privacy. One day, she left it on the table when she showered, and it buzzed. "Miss you already face-blowing a kissed." The name? Heather. That was her cousin's name. Opened the message, it wasn't her cousin. It was a guy. She'd labeled all her contacts with women's names. I went through the rest. Every one of her regular gal pals was a man. I didn't flip out. I just set her phone down, left the apartment, and sent her a message. "Enjoy girls' night. Forever." Story 47. He had a smartwatch he never took off until one day he did. Left it charging on the nightstand. I didn't mean to snoop, but it lit up, and I saw a calendar notification. Dinner with K. Redheart. That wasn't me. I opened the calendar and saw it was a weekly thing, always during times he said he was working late. Looked through his workout logs, each one matched the exact time. I didn't confront him. I printed out the calendar and taped it to the fridge with a sticky note. "You missed one." Story 48. We were house hunting, talking about forever. One afternoon I picked up his tablet to look up listings, and saw tabs open to a couples-only hookup site. His profile was up, along with messages to other people. I recognized our bedroom in one of the pictures. The worst part? His bio said, "Looking for something real." I closed the tablet, canceled our realtor meeting, and spent the rest of the afternoon finding a new apartment. For just me. Story 49. He left his journal open. I knew I shouldn't read it, but the page had a name circled. Not mine. I flipped through it and found entire entries about her. How he loved her more. How he felt trapped with me. How he planned to leave. Once the timing was right. We'd just put a deposit down on a wedding venue. I didn't say anything. I just canceled the booking, packed a bag, and left a post-it on the journal. Timing's right now. Story 50. I used to make playlists for us. One day, I found a playlist she made, private but not hidden well enough. It had a title in Spanish, Para él. I don't speak Spanish, but Google Translate was enough. For him, every song was about secret love, escape, and being torn between two people. I clicked through and one track caught my attention. It had our anniversary date as the title. Except, it wasn't our song. I confronted her. She denied everything. So I sent the link to the guy she made it for, who turned out to be married. Let them figure it out. Story 51. He was always kind, but distant. I never thought it was cheating, more like boredom. Then one day, I found a handwritten letter in our junk drawer addressed to someone named E. It was romantic. Too romantic. I didn't even feel angry, just numb. I made dinner like normal that night. He asked how my day was, and I said, "We should separate soon, don't you think?" He froze mid-bite. I never raised my voice. I think that scared him more than yelling ever would. Story 52. She synced her messages to our home computer without realizing it. One morning, I opened the laptop to do taxes and her iMessages started popping up in the corner. Dirty texts, pictures, plans to meet. I didn't click anything. I just watched them appear like a slow horror movie. I walked into the living room and asked her if she wanted coffee. She said, "Sure, babe." I nodded and said, "Cool. I'll bring it to your boyfriend too." Story 53. She had a hickey and said she got hit in the neck with a door. A door. I laughed in her face. She got mad I didn't believe her. We argued for 2 hours about door hinges. The next day, she accidentally burnt the same spot with a curling iron to cover it up. I asked if the door hit her again. She didn't respond. I packed my things while she was still trying to Photoshop her bruise out of selfies. Story 54. I was helping my friend install cameras in his house after a break-in. He wasn't tech-savvy, so I did most of the setup. Later that night, he calls me. Shaky voice. Says, "Check the front door cam." I log in. His wife walks out at 2 a.m., kisses a man goodbye in the driveway. Not a friend. Not a relative. He's been broken since. I was just the guy who saw it with him. And honestly, that was almost worse than being cheated on myself. Story 55. After I found out, I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I just started slowly moving out one drawer at a time. He didn't notice for 3 weeks. Then I took the TV, the couch, the coffee machine. He asked, "Where's all our stuff?" I said, "Ask the girl you brought into our bed." And then I walked out holding the dog. Story 56. We were at his friend's engagement party. He was acting weird, twitchy, checking his phone too much. His phone lit up and the girl next to me whispered, "Why is your fiancé texting my roommate? I miss your lips?" I nearly choked on my champagne. I smiled, stood up, grabbed the mic from the DJ and said, "Just wanted to make a toast to my fiancé for being engaged to 2 women at once." The room went dead silent. I left to a round of gasps and applause. Story 57. She always made fun of people who stayed after being cheated on. "So dumb," she'd say. "Have some self-respect." So when I caught her cheating, through a mistakenly sent snap meant for him, I just showed her the video and said, "Guess I'm not dumb." She cried, begged, said it was a mistake. I just walked out the door while she was still mid-sentence. Never looked back. Thanks for the life advice, though. Story 58. She wrote a poem. I thought it was for me. It was beautiful, deep, sexy. So I read it out loud at her birthday party in front of her friends and family. As I read, I noticed her expression go pale. Her eyes darted around the room. After the applause, I whispered, "Who's Aiden?" That's when I found out the poem wasn't for me. It was for the neighbor. Everyone heard. Even her mom. Story 59. I'm the one who cheated. Not proud of it. I thought she didn't care anymore. That we'd grown apart. Then one day I got sick and woke up with her beside me, holding my hand, whispering, "I've always loved you, even when you pulled away." I broke down and confessed. She didn't say a word, just stood up and left. That was 2 years ago. I've never heard her voice again. I would do anything to go back. Story 60. We had an inside joke. If one of us ever cheats, the other gets the PS5. One night, she confessed over pizza. I made a mistake, she said. I asked, was it worth the PlayStation? She laughed, thinking I was joking. I boxed it up that night, took it, and left. We're divorced now. She still texts asking if she can borrow it for Hogwarts Legacy. I tell her it's exclusive to people who keep their pants on.